When unbelievable things happen, the media's first response is to jump to conclusions. Now, there was an incident that took place today at the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls. This shares a border with Canada and the United States. That would be Ontario and New York State, this crossing. And a lot of people are jumping to the statement that this was on purpose. This was an attack of some kind. We're going to have to see whether or not that is actually the case. But spoiler alerts, once all the evidence comes forward so far that we have, it may not be looking as though that is the case, but there is nonetheless lots of people wanting to jump on Twitter to be the first to say confirmed, to say this is what's happened, and a lot of people also in the news media saying that they wanting to come forward and saying that they know what's going on with this whole situation. Now, of course, there was a big explosion. The first reports were a big explosion at the Rainbow Bridge. A lot of people assuming that it was on the Rainbow Bridge. This was not actually on the Rainbow Bridge. And a lot of people saying where it was even coming from, and a lot of people getting those initial reports incorrect. Now, I'm just putting out there lots of different things. Charlie Kirk here saying breaking, a massive explosion has occurred at the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls after a vehicle entering from the US from Canada with unknown contents and passengers exploded on the bridge. Now, how much of that is accurate? We have conflicting reports, so we'll get into that. The FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force is monitoring all points of entry to New York, and all 4 international border crossings between the U.S. and Canada in Western New York are closed. And of course, this is a good precautionary thing when something happens like this. Of course, the FBI and then, CSIS in Canada and then, border services should crack down and figure out what's going on. But these are some of the footage from the scene there. This is from Daisy Media, footage of following the explosion at the Rainbow Bridge border crossing in Niagara. Not making any statements here, I'm seeing. I like to see that. More just reporting on what's happening. More, again, the FBI, Andy No, saying this, the FBI investigating the car explosion on the Rainbow Bridge connecting the U.S. and Canada at Niagara Falls. The explosion happened as people are busy traveling for Thanksgiving. And an earlier post named the wrong falls. I apologize. Okay, so correcting some of the points. And this is as news is happening, some wrong information gets out there, and that's understandable. But correcting the record right away is the responsible thing to do. Now, in the House of Parliament, they got the news of this, so it got to the House of Parliament floor, where the House, the leader of the opposition and the Prime Minister both had something to say about it.
Mr. Speaker, we've just heard media reports of a terrorist attack, an explosion at the Niagara crossing of the Canada-U.S. border. At least two people are dead, one is injured. It is the principal responsibility of government to protect the people. Can the Prime Minister give us an update on what he knows and what action plan he will immediately implement to bring home security for our people?
Absolutely.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker,
question.
This is obviously a very serious situation in Niagara Falls. There was a vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge crossing. I've been briefed by the NSIA and the Minister of Public Safety. CBSA, RCMP, and Transport Canada are all fully engaged in providing the necessary support. There are a lot of questions, and we are following up to try and get as many answers as rapidly as possible. We are in close contact with U.S. officials, and will continue to work closely with them. We will continue to be engaged. We will provide updates. Updates I can give right now is there are 4 border crossings that are right now closed: Rainbow Bridge, Whirlpool Bridge, Queenston Bridge, and Peace Bridge. Additional measures are being contemplated and activated at all border crossings across the country. We are taking this extraordinarily seriously, and Mr. Speaker, I will have to excuse myself now to go get further updates and work on this very serious situation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So absolutely the right response from the Prime Minister there as well. Now, I'm not a big fan of our Prime Minister, but when he does the right thing, you gotta say you did the right thing. And I don't know if he'll do a good job about it, but at least he is doing the appropriate thing at the time. Now, again, people saying on Twitter here, whenever something happens like a car exploding on the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls, suspected attacks from people. I can't help but wonder what they want to turn our attention away from. Head on a swivel. That's a good point. Why might this sort of thing happen? But it could be possibly just an actual incident. That being said, news reporting on this as well, jumping to their usual conclusions again.
That is identifying who the occupants of the vehicle were, any potential motive that they may have in terms of any groups they may belong to. They'll look at maybe be able to get a hold of their computers, see if there was any chat or anything like that that would lead one to believe this was a coordinated event or they had some ideology that would lead them to do this. We know that in this current heightened state of turmoil and political awareness, that is.
Yeah, so it sounds sensational, but yeah, like law enforcement will look into individuals, that fall into one of these incidents like this. Now, news alerts here, a vehicle entering a toll booth at Rainbow Bridge has caused a large explosion to go off, prompting evacuations. Currently, multiple authorities and emergency personnel are on the scene with evacuations underway after a vehicle entering toll booth on the Rainbow Bridge into the U.S. has caused a large explosion to go off. So some of this information is correct, but entering the toll booth, maybe not exactly the terminology that I would use in this case. But yes, there's a raging fire because of this incident. Now we're going to get into some of this stuff. Now the FBI is looking into it. Of course, people are saying, yeah, say the line. We know he was known to law enforcement. Now, must be the case. Now, the FBI is looking into it. But as we get more and more footage from the incident, it is looking less and less like an actual purposeful thing. The vehicle came from such a far way away, and you can see from this footage here, we play this footage, is not near the tolls as it comes really fast flying up the street. I'll show that again. It's really unbelievable to see that the car was moving so quickly, hit a barricade, and flew such a far distance to make its impact where it did. And you can see here on this map how that actually played out. Now, people saying that the car was going over 100 miles per hour. And that, sorry about the noise there. Here is an eyewitness here who's talking about the situation here. I get a little bit more volume to his voice, but he explains exactly what it was that went down here, about right here.
Wait.
Yeah. And then describe it again.
So okay, so we were walking up.
Turn towards us.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we were walking up the road, and we seen this car coming down towards the border. And he was flying over 100 miles an hour. There was a car in front of him. He swerved out, went in front of the car, hit the fence, went flying up into the air. He hit, I think there was a elevation part. He went up into the air, and we just seen the fireball, and that's all we could see. It was just covered in smoke everywhere.
So the car was coming from the U.S. into Canada, towards Canada?
Yes, it was going towards Canada, yes.
So there you go. Conflicting reports. People are saying online that it was a car coming from Canada into the U.S. Eyewitness saying that it was a car coming from the U.S. side into Canada.
Okay. Did it actually hit towards the bridge? Where was that elevated area?
There was a fence there that's fenced off around there. It looked like it hit part of the fence because it's all damaged. And then it went elevated up, and then it went up into the air, and then it was just a fireball and smoke everywhere.
And did you see officers like?
So obviously eyewitness saying that it's looking more and more like a situation of a traffic incident. Nonetheless, the news is reporting on it like this.
What is this this report about a secondary vehicle. So there are concerns now, and sometimes these turn out to be false alarms, but there is now a concern that there is potentially a second vehicle that is somehow at large in the United States, in the Buffalo area, that may be connected to this other thing. What's the process of going about that, Governor?
Well, what you have to do, and this is very concerning, you have to set up roadblocks around the entire area where the suspected second vehicle was. You have to be able to stop them, check every vehicle out, and make sure that if there is a second vehicle, it gets stopped before it can pull off another attack like the one that we just witnessed. And this is enormously concerning because whether there's a second vehicle or not, I fear there is going to be a second vehicle at some point somewhere, not just in New York. And the other concern is we heard Director Wray's testimony about Hamas and the war motivating people in the United States. On September 11th, there were 3 separate attacks. It wasn't one attack. So we just have to raise our level of vigilance.
So raising the level of concern to the average person that's just trying to get traveling through the American holiday at this point. Is this for ratings or is this for actually concern out there? Now, Mudahar, I'm a big fan of his channel over on YouTube. He's another fellow Canadian. Actually criticizing Libs of TikTok. This Libs of TikTok wasn't the only one to jump out and say we just had an attempted attack on the U.S. soil. As this incident occurred, Mudahar saying this account should be removed for promoting blatant misinfo. As soon as the incident happened, this moron spouts the T word, and a few hours later, when all the facts come out that it's just a car accident, what the F what happened to finding the facts anymore. And this is why I'm talking about this. I don't know the for sure. I didn't get a report that it's actually been just a fluke car accident. But when I watched this go down, I've seen incidents like this happen before where throttles get stuck wide open for whatever reason. We've seen this with some of the electric cars. We've seen this with traditional road engine cars. But this type of incident could absolutely happen. It's very unfortunate if that was the case. And, of course, everybody jumping to conclusions. There's no conclusions here. I'll keep people, updated on this as we learn more about it. But may this absolutely be a moment of reflection for people when an incident like this happens, to not just jump to conclusions, perhaps to get the first voice out there, or perhaps to get the clicks and views. Anyway, I'll leave that one with you guys. Leave a comment in the comment section down below and let me know what you think. And of course, we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.